It began with a sound, a soft mechanical click, the kind you barely notice until it changes everything. 17-year-old Luka Petrovic had no reason to think that his father's old VHS tape, buried beneath rusted tools and forgotten car parts, would contain a secret so dark it could poison bloodlines. But when he pressed play, he wasn't prepared for what stared back at him from the static. His father, laughing as he fired a rifle into a bound prisoner's back. And behind him, more bodies, piled. Luka didn't scream. He didn't cry. He just sat there, heart thumping so loudly, it drowned out the grainy screams on the tape. Before that night, Luka thought he knew his father. Marko Petrovic was a quiet man, a stoic mechanic who smelled of gasoline and steel, the type of man who fixed things others discarded. He wasn't warm. He didn't tell bedtime stories, but he always made sure Luka's bike tires were pumped, and the heat worked during winter. In Luka's mind, that counted. They lived in Novi Sad, Serbia, a city that wore its trauma like a coat, heavy and stitched into every cracked building. People didn't talk about the past. They survived it. Luka's mother had died of cervical cancer when he was 8. Since then, it had just been the two of them. Marko never remarried. He spent his evenings drinking rakija from a chipped glass, flipping through war documentaries with the sound muted. Now Luka wondered, was he watching to remember or to relive? It started innocently, a history assignment, truth and reconciliation in the former Yugoslavia. Luka was assigned the 1995 Srebrenica massacre, a subject that always made his father flinch. "Don't dig into that," Marko warned one night, without turning from the television. But Luka needed first-hand materials. Photos, uniforms, anything that could bring the project to life. He never imagined what he'd find in his grandfather's attic. A trunk sealed with a leather belt. Inside, war medals, a yellowed newspaper, and a single VHS tape tucked into a sock. No label, no context, just weight. The footage began with shaky camera work, boots crunching over gravel, an empty village square, then chaos, gunfire, men yelling, women sobbing into their children's hair. Marko appeared 5 minutes in, young, smirking, wearing a patch on his arm that read Scorpione. He dragged a boy no older than Luka into frame, shouting something in Serbian. The camera didn't flinch. Neither did Marko. He raised the rifle and fired. Luka's mouth went dry. He tried to eject the tape, but his hands shook too much. When he finally ripped it from the player, he vomited in the sink. The next morning, Luka biked to his teacher's house, Mr. Sabo, a war historian whose uncle vanished during the Yugoslav Wars. Sabo watched the tape in silence. When it ended, he poured himself a drink and said only, "This cannot stay hidden." The tape was submitted anonymously, but the media storm that followed wasn't silent. Former mechanic exposed as war criminal. Massacre footage emerges after 27 years. Scorpion's secret execution tape. Marko was arrested at work, still in oil-stained overalls. He didn't resist. He didn't speak. At the trial, it was revealed that the footage was never meant to be found. It was part of a sadistic tradition, members of the Scorpions filming their acts as proof of loyalty. Luka had stumbled upon one of the few remaining copies not destroyed by the group. The community turned. Neighbors stopped making eye contact. Friends vanished. Online, Luka was both hero and villain. Some called him brave. Others said he betrayed his own blood. One message read, "You should have burned the tape, not your own father." But Luka had burned inside ever since. He started having nightmares of being in the tape, of standing where the boy did, frozen, waiting. Authorities reopened archived cases. One by one, survivors came forward. They described Marko as the man with the toothpick, a nickname earned from the way he chewed one after every execution. A woman named Sabina testified that he ordered her teenage brother to dig a trench, then shot him and threw her in next to him. Her voice trembled in court, but her eyes never looked away from Marko. Luka watched from the back row, his hands clenched. He wanted to cry, not for his father, but for ever having loved him. The prosecution found more tapes, each one worse than the last. In one, Marco forces prisoners to sing before killing them. And then an unexpected turn. Marco's name was linked to a warehouse near Kravica, where over 1,300 Bosniak men were executed in one night. It was one of the deadliest episodes of the war, and Luka's father helped coordinate it. Before sentencing, Marco requested one visit. Just one. With Luka, they sat across from each other in a cold interview room. Luka said nothing. He stared at the man who raised him. Marco finally spoke. "You always had your mother's eyes. She wouldn't have wanted this." His voice was hollow. No remorse. Luka leaned forward. "And what would she have wanted? That I lie? Pretend you didn't murder children?" Marco's jaw tightened. "I did what I had to. For my people." Luka stood up. "No, you did it for yourself. Because killing made you feel powerful." That was the last time they spoke. Marko Petrovic was sentenced to life in prison by the Hague Tribunal. His name now sits in war history alongside men like Ratko Mladic and Radovan Karadzic. A symbol of what happens when men lose their souls to flags and orders. Luka left Serbia the following month. He moved to Sarajevo. There, he met survivors. Bosniaks, Croats, even former Serbian soldiers who regretted everything. He started volunteering at a reconciliation center. His job? Helping teenagers uncover the truth of their parents' generation. Because silence, he learned, is the deadliest inheritance. Luka changed, but he never tried to erase what happened. He didn't change his name, didn't disown his blood. Instead, he told the story, again and again, in classrooms, in interviews, in courtrooms, not to shame but to warn. Sometimes he visits the Srebrenica Memorial. He walks the rows of names, each one a stone, each one a reminder. And on some days, he brings his camera. He photographs the light filtering through the trees, the way dust dances over marble names. Because in a world full of shadows, even the smallest truth matters. If the story struck a chord with you, consider subscribing to our channel. We tell the stories that history tried to bury, the voices of truth, justice, and humanity that echo through the cracks of time.